Imagine sitting in a forest centuries ago as wise sages engage in profound dialogues about the nature of reality and the self, conversations that echo through time, shaping the very foundation of Indian thought. Welcome to Lecture 5 of our audiobook series on Indian philosophy. I am Dr. Surendra, your friend, philosopher, and guide, here to lead you through an in-depth exploration of the Upanishads, the philosophical culmination of the Vedic tradition. This lecture, designed for both beginners and advanced learners, will introduce the Upanishads' nature, structure, and significance, equipping you to articulate their role in Indian philosophy for academic purposes. By the end, you will define the Upanishads, analyze their metaphysical and epistemological contributions, and synthesize their impact on liberation. Let us proceed with scholarly curiosity and precision. To begin, let us revisit the essence of philosophy, particularly for those new to this discipline. Philosophy is the systematic study of fundamental questions about existence, knowledge, values, and reality, pursued through reason and critical reflection. It encompasses metaphysics, what exists, such as the ultimate reality or the soul, epistemology, how we know truth, such as through perception or introspection, and ethics, what constitutes right action, such as duty or liberation. In Indian philosophy, as discussed in prior lectures, many systems aim for moksha, liberation from samsara, the cycle of birth, death, and rebirth rooted in sacred Shruti texts. The Upanishads, part of the Vedas' concluding portion, are central to this quest, marking a shift from ritual to philosophical inquiry. For academic purposes, you may state, philosophy is the rational inquiry into metaphysics, epistemology, and ethics, with the Upanishads providing Shruti's philosophical depth for moksha in Indian philosophy. Students, consider the Upanishads as a bridge connecting ritual to ultimate truth. Now, let us define the Upanishads, a critical concept for beginners. The term Upanishad derives from upa, near, knee, down, and sad, to sit, suggesting sitting near a teacher for secret knowledge. Known as Vedant, the end of the Vedas, they form the philosophical core of Shruti, the revealed texts we explored in Lecture 4. Composed roughly between 800 to 500 BCE, the Upanishads are dialogues between sages and students, often set in forests, exploring reality's deepest questions. They are part of the Vedic corpus, appended to the Sanhitas, Brahmans, and Aranyakas, but shift focus from external rituals to internal realization. Exam answer: the Upanishads, or Vedant, are philosophical texts within Shruti, composed 800 to 500 BCE, focusing on metaphysics and epistemology for moksha, distinct from Vedic rituals. Students envision the Upanishads as a teacher's whisper, revealing truth beyond chance. Let us examine the nature of the Upanishads, distinguishing them from earlier Vedic texts. While the Sanhitas, hymns, Brahmans, rituals, and Aranyakas, meditations, emphasize karma kanda, ritual action, and rata, cosmic order, the Upanishads prioritize Jnana kanda, knowledge, and moksha, liberation. They explore Atman, the individual self or soul, Brahman, the universal reality, and their relationship, questioning whether Atman is identical to Brahman or distinct. This shift reflects a metaphysical inquiry, moving from external ceremonies to internal realization. Epistemologically, the Upanishads rely on Shabda, testimony of sages, Anumana, inference, and Pratyaksha, perception, often through meditative insight. Ethically, they advocate Dharma, duty, and karma, action, as paths to liberation. Exam: the Upanishads, unlike Vedic rituals, focus on Jnana Kanda, exploring Atman, Brahman, and moksha through metaphysics, epistemology, and ethics. For beginners, think of this as a transformation ritual to reflection. The Upanishad structure is diverse, with over 200 texts, but 10 to 13 are considered principal, such as the Brihadaranyaka, Chandogya, Katha, Mundaka, Mandukya, Taittiriya, Aitreya, Kena, Shvetashvatra, Prashna, Kaushitki, and Ishvasya. These are appended to the Vedas. Example, Brihadaranyaka to the Yajurveda, Chandogya to the Samaveda, yet stand apart in their speculative depth. Each Upanishad comprises dialogues, stories, and aphorisms, often featuring sages like Yajnavalkya, Uddalka Aruni, and Nachiketa. Their brevity and focus on Brahma Vidya, knowledge of Brahman, make them concise yet profound. Exam. The Upanishads, numbering over 200 with 10 to 13 principal texts, are structured as dialogues appended to Vedas, focusing on Brahma Vidya for moksha. Students, picture these as philosophical gems, small but radiant with insight. Let us explore the philosophical significance of the Upanishads, focusing on their metaphysical contributions. They introduce Atman as the eternal self, distinct from the body, and Brahman as the ultimate, unchanging reality, often described as infinite, conscious, and blissful Satchitananda. The Upanishads debate whether Atman and Brahman are identical, non-dualism, example, Advait Vedant, or distinct, dualism, example, Dvaita Vedant, a question central to Indian philosophy. A famous teaching, Tat Tvam Asi, thou art that, from the Chandogya Upanishad, asserts Atman-Brahman unity, while the Katha Upanishad distinguishes them through Nachiketa's dialogue with Yam. Exam. Upanishadic metaphysics posits Atman, self, and Brahman, reality, exploring their unity or distinction as in Tat Tvam Asi, shaping Indian philosophy's foundational concepts. For clarity, consider Atman your essence, Brahman the cosmos, connected or separate. Epistemologically, the Upanishads emphasize Jnana, knowledge, as the path to moksha, achieved through Shabda, sagely testimony, Anumana, inference, and meditative Pratyaksha, direct realization. Sages like Yajnavalkya in the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad argue for intuitive knowledge of Brahman, while Uddalka in the Chandogya Upanishad uses analogies. Example, salt in water to explain Atman-Brahman unity. This reliance on reason and experience beyond Vedic rituals distinguishes the Upanishads. Exam. Upanishadic epistemology prioritized Jnana through Shabda, Anumana, and meditative Pratyaksha, as seen in Yajnavalkya's and Uddalka's teachings, advancing Indian philosophy's knowledge framework. Students, these are philosophers reasoning toward truth. Ethically, the Upanishads link dharma, duty, and karma, action, to moksha. They advocate karma yoga, selfless action, bhakti, devotion, and jnana, knowledge, as paths to liberation, often urging detachment from worldly desires. The Ishvasya Upanishad teaches, all this is enveloped by the Lord. Renounce and enjoy, emphasizing non-attachment. This ethical framework influences schools like yoga, Vedanta, and Mimamsa, integrating action with realization. Exam. Upanishadic ethics connect dharma, karma, and moksha, advocating paths like karma yoga and bhakti, shaping Indian philosophy's moral dimensions. For you, ethics here are a guide, living for liberation. Key thinkers in the Upanishads include Yajnavalkya, Uddalka Aruni, Nachiketa, and others, often unnamed but pivotal. Yajnavalkya, in the Brihadaranyaka, debates neti, not this, not that, to describe Brahman, while Uddalka, in the Chandogya, uses Saturday, being, to explain Atman-Brahman unity. Nachiketa, in the Katha, seeks death's secrets, learning Moksha's nature. Their dialogues, preserved in Tarka, systematic debate, engage Astika and Nastika schools, shaping Indian thought. Exam. Upanishadic thinkers like Yajnavalkya, Uddalka, and Nachiketa develop metaphysics, epistemology, and ethics through Tarka, influencing Indian philosophy's diverse systems. Students, these sages are trailblazers, questioning reality through dialogue. The Upanishads' significance lies in their role as Shruti, bridging Vedic rituals to philosophical inquiry. They influence Astika schools, Nyaya's epistemology, Vaisheshika's metaphysics, Sankhya's dualism, Yoga's practice, Mimamsa's ethics, Vedant's non-dualism, and engage Nastika schools, Charvaka, Buddhism, Jainism, critically. Exam. The Upanishads, as Shruti, provide philosophical depth on Atman, Brahman, and Moksha, shaping Astika schools and prompting Nastika critique, forming Indian philosophy's core. Students, they're the heart, pulsing with wisdom for all systems. For examination practice, consider this question. Discuss the philosophical contributions of the Upanishads. Your answer: the Upanishads, or Vedant, are Shruti texts within the Vedas, focusing on Jnana Kanda for Moksha, distinct from Vedic rituals. Metaphysically, they posit Atman, self, and Brahman, reality, exploring their unity or distinction as in Tat Tvam Asi. Epistemologically, they emphasize Jnana through Shabda, Anumana, and Pratyaksha, via thinkers like Yajnavalkya and Uddalka. Ethically, they advocate Dharma, Karma, and paths like Karma Yoga for liberation. Their influence shapes Astika schools and engages Nastika critique, forming Indian philosophy's foundation. This is detailed, structured, and marksworthy. For first-time students, let's recap key terms. Upanishads, Vedant, Shruti, revealed, Atman, self, Brahman, reality, Moksha, liberation, Samsara, cycle, Jnana, knowledge, Dharma, duty, Karma, action, Bhakti, devotion, Tarka, debate, Pratyaksha, perception, Anumana, inference, Shabda, testimony. These are your tools. Define them clearly. Indian philosophy deepens here in these dialogues. Next lecture, we'll explore the Upanishads' specific teachings in detail. Prepare by asking, how do these texts redefine your understanding of reality? Until then, review this depth, define terms with precision, and approach this study with intellectual commitment. Farewell for now. Our journey continues.